Hey folks, man, this is Monk, and we are back with another episode of Classic Cinematics, and I'm joined as always with my co-host. We got Bobby Blockbuster.
Yo.
Yeah, man. And we are back to talk about the classic films that shaped and warped our film-going experiences, man. So these are films that are classic, things made before the year 2000, and have a significant impact on the culture in general, you know? So today is no exception. We're going to be talking about Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke.
Whoa.
And this film came out in 1978 on January 1st. And it stars Tommy Chong and what's my man? Cheech Marin. But Tommy Chong is also a co-director on this with Lou Adler. You know, Paramount Pictures put this out. And the story goes as this. An unemployed pot-smoking slacker and amateur drummer, Anthony Stoner, ditches his name's Anthony Stoner?
Anthony Stoner.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ditches his strict parents and hits the road, eventually meeting kindred spirit Pedro de Pacas. While the drug-ingesting duo is soon arrested for possession of marijuana, Anthony and Pedro get released on a technicality, allowing them to continue their many misadventures and ultimately compete in a rock band contest where they perform the raucous tune Earache My Eye, I guess. But
You get as good as mine, bro.
the cast of Cheech Marin, we got Tommy Chong, those are our main guys. We also get Stroller Martin, Edie Adams pops up in this, Tom Skerritt, Stacy Keach plays an overzealous cop that's out to get these guys. We also get Rainbow Smith. That's a funny way to spell Rainbow.
His name's Rainbow?
Yeah, Rainbow
man.
Smith, but it's Rainbeaux. It has some really hippie parents.
I was about to say, this is keeping with the hippie vibe of the film. All right.
Yeah, Rodney Bingenheimer, Arthur Roberts, Louis Moritz. There's a lot of just smaller actors, you know, that you're probably only going to see in this film. I feel like at the time, you know, just based on the origin of this film, because Tommy Chong and Cheech Marin, they kind of had like a variety comedy thing that they were doing at the time in LA at the time, and they got really popular where they're doing albums and stuff. So this film is kind of an extension of, you know, their album exploits and their stage show.
Yeah,
you know?
they did like a lot of skits, you know what I'm saying, on vinyl and stuff. And yeah, like you said, this story, this movie is like kind of like a compilation of a lot of those skits. But yeah, man, you know, when it comes to this, I mean, these two, they are the pioneers, the faces of, you know, the stoner story, the high guy funny that, you know, now is almost like it's something that we're used to. But when this came out in 78, this was like counterculture at its finest. You know what I'm saying? They were bucking the system with, you know, with the style of this film and the energy that they put into it. And I mean, I feel like, you know, you can't talk about this movie without talking about these characters in Tommy Chong and Cheech Marin, like with the impact that they're having, you know what I'm saying, on the culture as a whole. You know what I mean?
Groundbreaking. I think something, what was it? Easy Rider. What year was that? That was
that was around the same time.
69. So that was like I guess 11 years before, or 9 years, something like that.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, I remember there was a famous pot smoking scene with that, where they're all sitting around a fire and they give Jack Nicholson a joint, and I guess that was probably one of the first, you know, or at least one of the ones that went mainstream, you know, that people seeing someone smoking weed on camera, you know, versus, you know, this almost 10 years later and what they're doing in this on a different level where the whole movie is this, and it's not so, it is still kind of counterculture, but it's not so avant-garde as you know, you know, at this point. It's something that your family, you know, people were doing. I know my uncles and all that. I would see people smoking a little rolled cigarette. I didn't know what it was at the time. And I'm like, why it would get real little and they still, I'm like, yo, he's burning his fingers. And I'm just like, throw that shit away.
And for me, it was always the smell. I'm like,
the smell too.
This doesn't smell the same.
It doesn't smell the same. But I wouldn't, that's all I noticed about it. I wasn't really paying attention to how it was making them feel or whatever. But I did notice that.
I was like, shit, I don't need to smoke that to love pizza. You know, they eat the shit out of the pizza now. But, you know, it's funny that that you bring up Jack Nicholson, because with these characters, you know, you can tell a lot about somebody by what they drive. And when this film first starts, I mean, it shows Tommy Chong, and he's driving this is a Volkswagen Beetle with this like Rolls Royce grill hookup situation going on. That Beetle was actually owned by Jack Nicholson.
What?
Yes, and apparently that was a thing in the 70s where people that owned Beetles would get this Rolls Royce conversion kit to make their Beetle look like a Rolls Royce.
Wow.
I was like, well, I mean, I guess if you can't afford it, but there's probably a better car you could throw that thing on.
Well, this thing has a lot of really references of what was going on at the time. I don't like it's a stoner comedy, but also like a period piece. It's almost like a time capsule. Like got this shit in the background. I'm looking at Cheech's chain link steering wheel that he's got on his broke down lowrider that he's working on, but he can't get it quite right.
But the inside is dope, dog. You see that? It's like a rainbow Furby on the inside, bro.
No, it looked like his friend's carpet store was going out of business. And he's like, here, take this, man, and they just put that on all the seats.
I don't see how he's not scared to smoking that joint. It looks like it's highly flammable, dog. That fur look like it will catch on flame quick, you know. Man, but dude, and that's the thing, and like, you know, what really works for me in this is the lingo, the banter between them. I mean, I know this is, like you said, it's a time capsule film and it is dated, but this hippie lingo that they have between them, you can tell that they're folks because their energy, it's seamless, it's effortless. Like it seems so natural. Like they're just doing this because this is what they do in their everyday lives. It doesn't matter if they're being recorded or not.
Yeah, you know I got a feeling there was a lot of improv making this thing. You know, because so even as I'm looking at the scene with the cop, it's like I feel like there's no script really much. Yeah. It's like we just got to talk to this cop and they're just winging it.
And there's other movies like, you know, like for Scarface, for instance, when Al Pacino just drops his face into what is seemingly a mountain full of blow. Yeah. You know, everyone's like, man, was that really cocaine? And this, I feel like they were really getting fried. They seem like, I mean, especially you hear how Chong talks. he sounds like he drinks weed.
But that's also, you know, that's a testament. Like I said, man, these are characters that they've been doing for a while too. Yeah. So I think, you know, that's part of it, the manifestation. But they do have that down pat, man. Yes. And it's not exactly stonerism, man, because like Cheech has this thing, man. He looks like, you know, we see his family. Were those his kids, or he's just in a house full of kids?
I'm glad you brought that up because the way that he's chick chasing throughout this whole film it's like I'm wondering, is like, are you sleeping on the couch in like, you know, your sister's house or brother's house, and those are your niece and nephews? Yeah, man. But then I want to say there's a point halfway through the film after they get out of jail, he's like, yo, if you hear anything, that's just me and my wife. So it could be his kids.
It could be, I don't know. It's interesting, but then Tommy, on the other hand, is just like his family's actually all right,
and he's a degenerate. Yeah, he's a degenerate.
He's like a dude that just got it good. He's got a good, loving home. His family look like they're well off. But he's just a slacker.
He just don't do shit. And he looks like he's a little too old to still be at home, dog. Dog, how old are you? Like 50?
Yeah, they gotta both be pushing 30, bro. And at least how they looking here.
It's funny too, because I mean, this is such a certified.
I don't know, man. Like dudes in 25 in the 70s, and you had a mustache. You probably look 40. Like, so, that's how
he looks. That's what I'm saying. but it's funny because, you know, like this, like I said, not just this whole hippie element, but the lingo, dog. Do you know they say the word man 295 times?
Yeah,
man. Pass the joint, man.
That's a pet peeve.
Oh my
gosh. It's like a crutch that I try to not to say too often, but it comes out so easily.
It does. But you know, another thing that works is, I mean, like I said, we get this dynamic duo in these two, but then we get these cool sub characters. Like, I like my man Curtis. You know what I'm saying? He's the one who gets the outfits for him. He's like, y'all gonna be bad, Jack. Whoop, whoop, whoop. You know, he gets him the weed and stuff. And the cousin Strawberry. The tripped out war vet. I thought he had a good dynamic. Yeah. But what really makes this story kind of at least seem a little more grounded and give us some kind of sense of realism and a little bit of cohesiveness was what we get from Tom's. What is it? Tom Skerritt. No, not Tom Skerritt. I'm sorry, Stacy Keach, the lieutenant. And I guess these would be, the equivalent of DEA agents because they're trying to.
I mean, just to explain the story of essentially they get busted smoking, and then and basically the agents get wind of their arrest and think that they are linked to a bigger organization or a bigger thing, and they start, trying to track them down. But then also they do get involved in like a smuggling thing where they've got a car made out entirely out of bud, which is so crazy to me. It gets a little ridiculous. So we've got that kind of cat and mouse thing going on where the DEA, they're following these guys around and they're not even really heavily involved. They're just living their some stoner life, up until the point where they get the truck. But then these guys on their tail following them, and then there's some kind of funny moments where they actually right next to each other, and but basically that's the gist of this film. Other than the hanging out, I think that's the part that kind of carries it on. Because other than that, it feels like
it's a Seinfeld episode, dog.
Yeah, it's almost like a bunch of skits of them. We're just putting these two characters in different situations.
Yes.
So adding that DEA police thing to it kind of gives it more of a normal plot.
It's the glue because outside of that, you're just watching two fried guys do fried guy shit and the crazy shit that happens when you're fried. Like whoever's been fried before, that's the time when you see shit you never see or something happens. You're like,
I don't have days like this now. Like that.
No, not no more.
This was back in the day when I had no responsibility.
But that was also back when I had to smoke outside all the time.
Yeah, but you got into shit because you were outside.
You're outside.
I got shit to do.
You just so happen to be fried while you're outside. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, I can't just be running around or walking through neighborhoods high and doing dumb stuff. And you had to go out to do stuff because you didn't have this social medias and stuff. If I wanted to see my friends, I had to go outside to see them.
Exactly.
And I don't even know how I was able to link up because we out and about, or maybe there's one phone call early in the day. What you doing? All right, I'm coming.
There you go.
And then you just go out and you out there, and maybe you run into another group of people who are out there,
or you check all the spots where everybody.
There's no way to coordinate. You just be out and just bumping into people.
No, and also, like I said, if you was indulging in adult activities at a young age, like some of us were, you can't do that shit in the house. Get your ass whooped.
Some parents are wild. Some of y'all was out of control.
They wanted to be part of the party.
For being out of control.
Matter of fact, they would DJ at the party.
Just
pass the joint.
I guess their reasoning was, well, I'd rather you do it here where I know what's going on than be out there.
That's what they said. The thing is they wanted to make sure they hit the J too.
But see, I knew parents, they wouldn't hit the J's with us, but they knew we was down in the joint hitting the J's. Drinking, smoking. Might have helped us get the bottle.
That's true. But you know what? Another thing about this story that I like too is, as crazy as it is, as far-fetched as it is, it does have this level of inventiveness when it comes to, when you talk about the van, they bring up this shit called fiber weed, which this is not real. You melt down, you break down the weed, you turn it into liquid, and then you spray it on shit, it hardens, and then you can transport it. You know what I'm saying? But then when you think of it in today's time, this movie came out in 78, okay, and in 2023, there are so many different ways that weed is now ingested in, and all different ways in which it's packaged, sold, and distributed, and all kinds of things. So I mean, even though there's not fiber weed, but you can eat it now. You can drink it. You can get a milkshake with it. You can drink a weed milkshake with a straw made of hemp. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So I thought that was kind of cool that they brought that element to this, and it just brings to the forefront the craziness of this movie as a whole. You know what I mean? And also, I like how they portray the cops, because they're just grade A dweebs. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're trying to do their job.
It's the typical,
but it shows that they don't really know. They don't know the animal that they're trying to hunt in the jungle.
They're arrogant, and it's not like Cheech and Chong are these experts at evasion. No. They're walking right next to the guy. I'm like, yo, you guys are hot. They're hot the whole movie, to be honest.
Yes, they're extremely hot. You're smoking a J the size of your fucking arm. Okay, but not for nothing. That is one of my favorite parts. Every time I watch that, I still get belly laughs when my man breaks out that big ass joint and they smoke. He's like, "Yeah, man, what's in this? Oh, it's dog shit, man. I had to follow my dog for 3 weeks, man, until he pooed, or 3 days. 3 days. He pooed it out. He was like, yeah, it really tripped the dog out, man. He was like, I wonder what Labrador smokes like. It's like, dude, what? Who thinks of this shit? But
it is a bit wild, man.
Yeah, man. But you know,
it got some cool music though.
It does,
because that's the thing too. But I think that's cool about their whole. They are kind of musical, man. You know, they break out a song on the albums, and they do. There's moments of that here, but so it kind of makes sense where they would also highlight some cool music. Because I think this is one of the first times that Wars. What was that Lowrider song?
Lowrider, yes.
And that kind of hit the mainstream,
yes.
You know, and that kind of helped, you know, blow that up, and it was a good look for that band too at the time.
And you know, Tommy Chong actually really played the drums too. So, but you know, the why the music works for me so well in this, because it adds and it really emphasizes this like cartoon character element that we get from the two of them. Like they seem like they're not real people. It's like the people like this really can't exist and just skate by in life in the world the way that they are. They're very cartoony, and this soundtrack, it does that for them. And the irony in it all is, of all the films that they made, the last one they dropped in 2013 was an animated movie. So you know, I thought that was really cool. And then you also get these like, I don't know if Cheech wrote these songs or they wrote them together, but the ones where like when they get jammed up and then Cheech is singing that song, you know, it's like, y'all, you know, they were, I don't want to say they were ahead of their time, but they were definitely staples in the time that they, you know, came to the forefront when they transitioned from doing stuff on vinyl to being on mainstream, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think this, you know, this was the first one, but then they did like they did like 3 movies together.
Dog,
4?
no, they did this. The success of this film spawned 7 other movies, dog.
Damn.
Yes, 7 of them, and yeah, I mean, so we had Up in Smoke in 78. Yeah. We had Cheech and Chong's next movie in 80. Nice Dreams in 81. What was it? Things Are Tough All Over in 1982, Still Smoking in 83, Cheech and Chong's Corsation Brothers in 84, Get Out of My Room in 85, and then Cheech and Chong's animated movie in 2013. So, I mean, dude, they almost dropped a movie each year of the 80s,
I'm looking at the returns, so they, I mean, it seems like they were doing okay up until, I guess Still Smoking was kind of a really big decline, and then the Corsican Brothers kind of
that flopped. Movie. I don't even count
less
one.
Money.
But then again, you know what? That was one where they completely like switched their element.
That was different. It was beyond just smoking. It was
it was like in like Renaissance French, and like
I appreciate that though. At least they tried.
If you hit Cheech, then Chong feels it, and vice versa.
I appreciate that though.
I mean,
try to mix it up.
A for effort.
Because you know, you got to try to mix your shit up sometimes, man.
Well, and you know, you don't want to be held in a box, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, they were.
And also, you know what happened, man? I feel like later on, Cheech got that job with what's it with my man from Miami Vice back in the day.
Oh yeah.
He started getting on TV.
He was on TV, but then he also did a lot of
that thing, Nassau Bridges or
Well, he also did a lot of indie movies. I remember one of my favorite Cheech movies is called Born in L.A. or Born in East L.A.
I love that.
That's great. So I mean, and then he was also like he was doing voice acting and a lot of cartoons.
Nash Bridges. So what happened with it was kind of a little rift that happened between them, because I think what happened is Cheech Marin started getting more of this mainstream work. Meanwhile, Chong started making Chong bongs and actually went to jail behind that.
He had to go to jail for paraphernalia.
And I think Cheech Marin was trying to get away from the stoner stuff. Yeah. You know, so there was like a period of time, like, you know, a few years back where they were kind of like on, you know, a little bit icy with each other. But then I think Cheech came back around, you know, around the time when Machete came out and stuff like. It's like, bro, what are you doing, man? Like I get it, you know, you're moving up there with your ranks, but come on, man.
But you can't forget where you came from. You can't forget
this
what
we are,
and
now this, you know, that's what. Like, you can't erase that. Like, that was part of your history, man.
And I mean, in this film, without this, no one, you know, they stay underground. Just, you know, had a very culty following, because I mean, they were doing these records from '71. This movie came out in '78. Yeah, you know what I mean. So, but speaking of I really like how this film was put together, you know, like from the cinematography angle, you know what I'm saying? I love the way it's shot. Like it has this like gritty graininess that lets you know that you're watching a film from the 70s, like a lot of our other films that came out in that time. But you can also tell that they didn't pull no punches when it came to budget. Like they put the right amount of money into this film to get quality product, and I don't think that they knew that this film was going to have the success rate that it did, or have the cult following that you know it now has to this day still. But what you did is you took these two, pretty much for all intents and purposes, underground weed smoking comedians, and you gave them a very long reach, putting them on mainstream film. And you know, and then like when it comes to this setting, I want to say majority of it was shot in LA, and it feels like it, you know what I'm saying? Like it has a very like laid back look and feel to it, which really
feels,
just
you know, just like it's low budget independent kind of filmmaking, and you know, and it comes across, man. You know,
it does.
They're using the environment and just taking advantage of, you know, their friends and stealing shots and stuff like that, man. So,
but on the plus, like I said, man, when it comes to, you know, the financial aspect, this film was a grand slam, dog. They spent $2 million to make this film. It grossed box office $104 million. So that's how they were able to come back with all these other films. Because I mean, this one hit a grand slam. Like I said, I mean, and these are now, you know, the pioneers of the stoner story, of the high guy age. I mean, look at how many movies that spawned from these guys pushing the limits and testing the barriers the way they did. Without this film being made, or these guys, you know, doing what they did, we don't get films like Half Baked, or even, you know, we don't get Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. We don't get How High. We don't get, you know, a lot of these other films that are you know, weed based or drug infused.
They definitely help make those characters mainstream, man. You know, for sure.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, man. I don't know, man. It is what it is. I mean, I don't think it's aged very well. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the first time I've seen it was enough. you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it is one. I wouldn't tell you to not watch it, but repeat viewings, that's going to hit you depending on how you are, you know, as a film goer. But for me, it's like the second watching really let me see the flaws in it. You know, it's definitely a film, like I said, man, without that police kind of cat and mouse thing going on, it's not really, it's hard to call this a real film, yo. It's almost like
it's an episode of Seinfeld.
It's almost like you put a bunch of, like, imagine if these guys were a regular skit on Saturday Night Live and you just did a supercut of all of their scenes, you know, all of their skits. And that's what it is, because outside of that ongoing thing, the moment stuff that they're doing is so random. It's just like, all right, we're going to go here, hang out. There's a wacky character. There's a wild scene. Repeat. And it happens like maybe 5 or 6 times throughout the film, man. I mean, you know, and it's like, some of it is hit or miss, you know, so.
I'm with you on that, but like for me, like it does fall in my, it's a must-see at least once movie for me because of what it is. Like I watch it repeatedly because I find the enjoyment of it. For you know, because I love high guy comedies, and like I said, these guys are the originators of that. But like you said, I mean, you've seen it once. You're not going to catch anything you didn't see the first time. There's no Easter eggs. There's no hidden gems. You take this for face value. What you see is what you get. But it is a must-watch film for me at least once. Because you have to know. You have to know, like, why these guys... I mean, it's when you look at... These guys are like McDonald's. Like little kids might not know how to say the word McDonald's, but they see the golden arches and they know they love the fries. You see what I'm saying? That's... Cheech and Chong, you equate them to, you know, the stoner life, you know, smoking weed and living a certain lifestyle. And these were the ones that, you know, had the balls to buck the system at the time when the films were trying to stray away from this. They didn't want to bring smoking weed and stoner adventures into, you know, the households or into the movie theaters. And these guys pushed the limits and it was successful. I mean, I don't know what the conversion rate of $2 million to $104 million in 79 would be in 2023, but this shit's making
good money, man.
This shit's making MCU money, dog.
I mean, you look at just that $2 million, and you made 100 or something. So it's like that's a crazy.
You made 100 mil off spending two, and the thing is that, you know, talk about believing in your product, because they said that the director, what's his name, Lou Alder. after they were at about a little over $1 million in their budget, he requested another $800,000 from I want to say it was Paramount that distributed. I think it was Paramount, and they refused. And they were like, "No, man, we're not putting that much money, that much of an investment into this fucking movie." And he, out of pocket, he took loans, did whatever he did, and he put that other $800,000 into to finish production and finish making the final product of this film. So just think of that too, like the belief that he had that this film would, pull back big revenue. And I mean, proof is in the pudding, man. Numbers don't lie, dog.
Yeah, man. So I think we could wrap this thing up, man. Yeah, man, check it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think, unfortunately, the stoner comedy genre has, evolved a lot. But these guys laid the framework, man.
They did.
For without them, you probably wouldn't have your half bakes, your how highs, your Pineapple Express, without Cheech and Chong. So definitely worth acknowledging them.
And do yourself a favor, if you're gonna watch it, even if you don't smoke one. It makes it better. Okay.
Yeah, folks. Well, I think that's it, man. Y'all can catch us at Classic Cinematics on Instagram and follow the channel, man. You watched it this long, man. You might as well hit that subscribe button. And also, you catch me, Monk, at Monkey Blood on Twitter and Instagram. And
it's Bobby Blockbuster. You can catch me at Bobby Blockbuster 118.
All right, we out of here, man. Roll one up, man.
Yes.
All right, folks, we out of here. Peace.